If you live in New York City, you never think about where your water comes from. You turn the handle, and it is there. You drink it, you shower in it. You use it to run the most complex, high-pressure financial engine in the history of the world. But that handle is connected to a terrifying, hidden reality. New York City is a thirsty machine, consuming over 1 billion gallons of water every single day. But that water is delivered through a system that is essentially a ticking time bomb. The city relies on 3 primary water tunnels. But the reality is that the original 2, built in the early 20th century, are operating on borrowed time. These tunnels have never been inspected. They have never been serviced. And most importantly, they can never be shut down. If either of those original tunnels fails due to structural fatigue, decades of geological pressure, or a sudden seismic event, the city effectively dies. You are looking at a scenario where 8 million people, and the global financial markets they support, are left without water in a matter of hours. This is the story of the most expensive, complex, and desperately needed infrastructure project in American history, Water Tunnel Number 3. For over 50 years, engineers have been boring through the brutal solid bedrock deep beneath the streets of Manhattan, the Bronx, and Queens. This is not just a pipe, it is a $6 billion lifeline. It is an emergency backup system for a city that has outgrown its own foundations. To understand the scale of this, you have to look at the ground reality of New York's geology. Manhattan is not just buildings, it is a massive island of schist and granite. To build Water Tunnel Number 3, crews have had to operate massive tunnel boring machines, hundreds of feet underground, navigating through high-pressure rock, and the unpredictable obstacles of a city that has been building on top of itself for 400 years. The project has been plagued by massive cost overruns, catastrophic construction delays, and political battles that span generations. Why? Because you are performing open-heart surgery on a city that is wide awake. You cannot turn off the water to Manhattan to fix the plumbing. Every single inch of this project has had to be executed while the city continues to function at full capacity above ground. But why are we in this position in the first place? It comes down to a failure of long-term planning. When the original tunnels were built in the 1910s and 1930s, they were marvels of engineering, but they were built with the assumption that they would last forever. We now know that nothing lasts forever in an urban environment. The constant vibration of the subway system, the shifting of the bedrock, and the sheer weight of the skyscrapers above have put stresses on these pipes that the original engineers never could have modeled. One of the most intense debates on urban planning forums is the inspection paradox. We know the original tunnels are degrading. We know there are leaks, but we have no way to fix them because there is no bypass. If you turn off tunnel number 1, the city runs out of water by noon. This is why the engineering community views Water Tunnel Number 3 not just as an improvement, but as a mandatory prerequisite for the survival of the city. The ground truth is that the city is currently operating on a single point of failure. If tunnel number 1 or tunnel number 2 develops a massive leak, there is no plan B. The water pressure would drop, the hydrants would go dry, and the fire suppression systems in the world's tallest buildings would lose their integrity. It is the ultimate logistical catastrophe waiting to happen. But there is another angle that rarely makes the news: the seismic risk. New York is not sitting on a completely stable plate. While we don't have the earthquake risk of California, we do have intraplate stress. Geologists have pointed out that the rock beneath Manhattan is fractured. Water Tunnel Number 3 is engineered with steel reinforcement and flexible joints that the original tunnels completely lack. It is designed to move with the rock. It is a modern solution to a modern fear. The project has also faced incredible financial scrutiny. $6 billion is a massive amount of money. Critics often point to the slow pace of construction, decades of work for only a few miles of pipe. But what they miss is the incredible difficulty of the work. You are dealing with ground freeze techniques, where you have to literally freeze the earth to prevent it from collapsing before you can pour concrete. You are dealing with high-pressure aquifers that can flood a tunnel in minutes. This is not just civil engineering, it is deep earth exploration. What we are witnessing is the brutal, expensive, and absolutely necessary process of maintaining a megacity. We often talk about infrastructure as if it is something you build once and then forget. But the reality of a place like New York is that you are never finished. You are constantly fighting against entropy. You are constantly pouring billions of dollars into the dark, cold bedrock just to keep the status quo from collapsing. This is not a project that gets headlines. It is not glamorous, but it is the most important story in the city. If this project fails, the entire global financial order loses its cooling, its sanitation, and its viability. Think about the data centers, the cooling systems for the massive bank servers, the hospitals, the sanitation systems. Every single one of them relies on a constant, high-pressure stream of water from the Catskill and Delaware reservoirs. As we look toward the completion of the final stages of this massive underground network, we have to ask ourselves, are we doing enough? Are we investing in the long-term, invisible foundations of our civilization? Or are we just hoping that the concrete holds for another 50 years? Many forum discussions center on whether the design of Water Tunnel No. 3 is truly future-proof. Are we building for a city of 8 million? Or are we building for a city of 12 million? Critics argue that we are already behind the curve of population growth, and that even when the new tunnel is finished, we will still be operating on a razor-thin margin. The debate about capacity versus efficiency is constant. Engineers argue that by digitizing the flow control, we can squeeze more efficiency out of the system. But the fundamental constraint remains: the pipe diameter. New York is a marvel of human ingenuity, but it is a fragile one. And beneath the glitz of the skyline, in the absolute darkness of the bedrock, the real work of keeping the modern world alive is happening. Water Tunnel No. 3 is the final insurance policy for a city that has everything to lose. And right now, the city is still holding its breath, waiting for that insurance policy to finally come online. The engineering reality is this: we are running a race against time, and the tunnel boring machine is the only thing standing between the greatest city in the world and a logistical dark age. We have explored the history, the seismic engineering, the financial debates, and the terrifying reality of the inspection paradox. We have looked at why the original tunnels are a bottleneck, and why the new tunnel is the only exit strategy. But there is one final angle to consider: what happens after? Once the new tunnel is pressurized, the city faces the most dangerous phase of the entire project. Attempting to dewater a 100-year-old tunnel to inspect it is an act of extreme engineering caution. If you drain it too fast, the pressure change could cause the tunnel to collapse from the weight of the city above. If you drain it too slow, you leave the city vulnerable for months. This final phase is likely to be the most dramatic moment in New York's infrastructure history. In the end, the most important infrastructure is the stuff you never see until the moment it fails. And for New York, failure is simply not an option. We are literally rebuilding the foundation of the modern world, 1 mile of bedrock at a time. The work is dark, it is dangerous, and it is expensive, but without it, the lights go out, the towers fall, and the machine stops. We are the stewards of this foundation, and the story of Water Tunnel No. 3 is the story of our generation's commitment to the future of our civilization. It is time we stop taking the water for granted. It is time we recognize that the greatest achievements of humanity are not the buildings that touch the clouds, but the systems that support them from the darkness of the earth. The foundation is shifting, but with enough steel, enough concrete, and enough engineering, we are holding the city together.